Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into something really fundamental today, something that's kind of stitched into the fabric of how we connect as humans.
Yeah.
Storytelling.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. You do it every single day, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're just, telling someone about your commute or sharing something funny your kid did or maybe explaining a challenge at work. You're telling stories. It's ancient.
It's so true. And the source material we're looking at for this deep dive, these excerpts from The Art of English Storytelling,
Yeah.
it really zeroes in on why this matters so much, especially, when you're speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
They highlight how stories aren't just entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
They're essential for connecting, sharing experiences, teaching stuff, remembering things.
And the promise there, at least according to the source, is that if you get better at telling stories in English, you don't just sound more grammatically correct.
Right.
You sound more fluent, more emotional. You sound more alive. You actually connect better.
And that's really our mission here in this deep dive. We've gone through these bits and pieces from the source and tried to pull out the insights that can genuinely transform how you share your own world in English.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the structure, the sort of skeleton of a good story, give you some really useful phrases, walk through an example from the source.
And some tips, too, right?
Yeah.
For making it sound even better.
Exactly. Tips that more advanced storytellers use. So, yeah, ready to get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the source kicks off by asking this really basic question. Why? Why are stories so important, particularly when you're trying to express yourself in English?
Well, it goes way beyond just sharing facts, doesn't it? The source makes a really strong case that telling stories is probably one of the most natural, dynamic ways to actually use your English and therefore improve it.
Yeah.
You're not just, reciting verb tables.
Yeah.
You're actually using past tenses in context, linking ideas, maybe building a bit of tension, and crucially, expressing how you felt.
Right. It forces you to think in English about your own life, your experiences, instead of mentally translating a memory bit by bit.
Yeah, that slow translation thing.
You start grabbing it and shaping it directly with English words, English structures. And the source points out this isn't just like a language drill. It's how we build connections with people.
Definitely.
A well-told story makes you relatable, memorable.
Yeah.
Makes people actually want to listen.
It turns something abstract, like language learning, into something really personal. And to do that well, especially in English, the source suggests there's this kind of hidden framework, a structure that most good stories follow, even the short ones you tell every day.
Yeah, they break it down into 5 key parts. Think of them as anchors, keeping your listener on track. First up, the setting.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Okay.
This is just setting the scene. When did it happen? Where did it happen? Last summer I was traveling in Spain, or maybe just yesterday morning, before I had even had coffee.
Exactly. It grounds the listener straight away. They have a context.
Yeah.
Okay, next. The characters.
Again, simple. Who was there? Who was involved in this thing you're talking about?
Right.
It was just me. Or I was with my friend Sarah, or maybe there were these 2 strangers standing there.
Simple, yeah, but vital. Your listener knows who to picture, who to follow.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. The conflict or problem.
Ah, yes. Every good story needs something to happen, something unexpected, something that kind of throws a wrench in the works.
Right. If you just say, I woke up, had coffee, went to work, came home. Exactly. It's not a story because nothing happened. The source really emphasizes that a problem, a challenge, a surprise, whatever it is, that's the engine. Everything was going great until?
That until. And that problem, it builds towards the climax.
This is the peak, right? The most intense bit, the most dramatic, maybe the funniest part. It's the whole reason you're telling the story.
Yeah, the core moment, and that's when I saw, or I couldn't believe what happened next.
It's the moment everything hangs on. And then, finally, you need the resolution.
How did it all wrap up? How did the problem get solved? Or, what was the final outcome?
Did you figure it out? Did the funny situation end? Did you get over the hurdle? In the end, we managed to, or it turned out okay because.
Yeah. And the source wisely adds that, okay, these 5 parts are the skeleton.
The bones.
The bones, yeah. But the lifeblood, what makes it feel real, comes from your personal voice and, super important, your emotions.
Ah, yes. Got to have the feeling.
Putting in how you felt scared, excited, embarrassed, whatever, that's what makes it relatable. Human.
Totally. So, okay, we have the structure. How do you, move smoothly between these parts?
Yeah.
How do you signal to your listener where you are in the story?
Good question. The source gives a whole toolkit of useful phrases for this, kind of broken down into categories.
Little signposts.
Exactly. Signposts for your listener. They help you manage the timeline and the emotional journey of your story. First category is time expressions.
These are fundamental. You need ways to start, like a few years ago, one day, last weekend. Pretty basic.
Right. And then to move things along, suddenly, right later on, eventually, finally. Using these just helps your listener follow the sequence without even thinking about it.
Keeps the flow.
Precisely. Gives it rhythm, pacing. Okay, next up, story starters. Because you don't just jump into the setting usually, right? You want to grab their attention first.
Oh, I like these. They create instant curiosity. Stuff like, let me tell you what happened.
Yeah, classic.
Or you won't believe this, or okay, here's a funny story. Maybe something crazy happened to me the other day.
They signal, like, okay, listen up, this is going to be good. And sometimes you want to build a bit of drama, a bit of tension. So the source suggests phrases for building suspense.
Like, at first, everything seemed normal. That immediately tells you things are about to not be normal.
Totally. Or, and that's when I realized, that moment where it clicks, often tied to the problem or the big moment.
To my surprise. Or, I had no idea what was coming. These phrases pull the listener into that moment of uncertainty with you.
Yeah, they make the listener feel it too.
And maybe the most critical category for adding that alive quality we mentioned, describing feelings. The source gives some simple but really powerful examples here.
Yeah, don't just say, I was sad. Please.
Right. Use something like, I was so embarrassed, or, it was absolutely hilarious. I felt totally lost. I was completely shocked.
I was terrified. I was overjoyed. I felt this wave of panic. The source really hammers this home. Showing your emotions lets the listener connect with what you went through. It makes the story stick.
It resonates. And using little let-ins like honestly or to be honest before you say how you felt can make it sound even more genuine.
Good point. It's so much better than just like a flat report of what happened.
Okay, so let's see this structure and these phrases working together. The source uses a simple but really effective everyday example, the lost phone story.
Okay, yeah, I remember this one. So the storyteller was traveling last summer, was it? In Spain? With friends, exploring some little village.
Right, so setting. Last summer, Spain, village. Characters, storyteller, and friends.
Yeah.
Pretty clear.
Everything's going fine, nice day. But then comes the problem.
Dun, dun, dun.
Suddenly they realize phone's gone, conflict, lost phone, and instantly a wave of panic washes over them. You know that feeling?
Oh, yeah.
Everything's on the phone, photos, contacts, maps. So that feeling, that sudden fear is key.
So they start retracing their steps, going back the way they came, asking in shops, asking people, but nothing, no sign of it.
Why?
The search gets more frantic.
Right, and this builds the tension towards the climax. They're searching everywhere, time's ticking by, they're starting to really worry, maybe getting desperate. The source uses that phrase, just as I was about to give up. That's the peak of the despair, right? That moment just before. Maybe it's all over. So, climax. Panic searching, almost giving up hope.
You can feel the stress building,
Yeah.
but then, the resolution.
Just then, a little girl walks up to them, holding the phone. Says her dad found it nearby. Resolution. Little girl returns the phone.
Phew. And the feeling. Relief, obviously. Huge relief.
Totally. They thank the girl and her dad like crazy. And the source points out how the story ends with a little reflection like, it turned out okay in the end, but wow, that was stressful. Maybe learned a lesson about being more careful.
It's such a simple story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something that could happen to pretty much anyone.
Yeah.
But it perfectly shows that structure.
Yeah.
Setting, characters, conflict, climax, resolution. And it really highlights how adding those emotions, wave of panic, incredibly relieved, brings the whole thing to life.
Definitely. And the source also picks out a few specific words and phrases from that story that are super useful for telling your own stories in English.
Like retrace your steps. That's a great idiom.
Yeah, it means to go back the way you came, usually looking for something lost. Very common.
And a wave of panic. Such a vivid picture for that sudden, intense fear. Way better than just saying, I felt scared.
Much better. Or to give up, meaning to stop trying. Simple phrase, but essential when you're talking about challenges.
And to be relieved, that specific feeling when something stressful is finally over. I was so relieved when. We use that all the time.
Yeah. And maybe to nearly cry, which doesn't always mean actual tears, right? It can just mean feeling really emotional, maybe touched or overwhelmed.
Good point. And finally, in the end, just a classic way to signal the final outcome after everything else has happened.
So using these kinds of specific, evocative phrases makes your story clearer, punchier, more memorable.
Okay, but what about taking it up a notch? The source also has tips for a more advanced storytelling style, right?
Yeah, these are techniques to make your stories not just clear, but really captivating. First one, adding detail.
Oh, this is huge. The source gives a great contrast. Like, don't just say it was a hot day.
Snoozeville again?
Right. The listener doesn't feel anything. Instead, try something like, the sun was just beating down and my shirt was sticking to my back with sweat.
Ah, see the difference. Now you don't just know it was hot, you kind of feel it with the storyteller. That sensory detail makes it way more immersive.
Totally. Another powerful technique, using dialogue. Instead of just reporting what someone said.
Let them speak.
Exactly. Let them say it.
So instead of saying, he told me he was totally lost,
Exactly.
maybe something like, he looked at me, his eyes were wide, and he just went, dude, I think we are completely lost.
Yes. That brings the characters to life instantly. You hear their voice, their emotion, the actual words they use, puts the listener right there.
Much more engaging. The source also suggests using contrast. Highlighting a sharp change can create drama and really focus the listener's attention.
Like everything was perfectly quiet and peaceful until the alarm suddenly started blaring.
Boom. Yeah. That contrast between the calm before and the sudden chaos after is really effective.
Or maybe about feelings. One moment I was laughing my head off, the next I was absolutely terrified. It emphasizes that abrupt shift.
It makes those moments stand out. And finally, a slightly more subtle one, but really impactful. Varying sentence length.
Ooh, this is good. Tell me more.
Well, the source gives this brilliant little example. I froze.
Yeah.
Everything went silent. Then chaos.
Wow. Yeah. That short, sharp, I froze. Bam.
Yeah.
You feel the shock.
Right. Then everything went silent is a bit longer, draws out the tension, that eerie quiet. And then the abrupt, short punch of then chaos, it lands with so much more force because of the rhythm.
It's like music, isn't it? Mixing short, punchy lines with longer, more descriptive ones keeps the listener hooked and helps you control the pace, emphasize the big moments.
Exactly. It adds texture.
Okay, so we've got the structure, the phrases, these advanced tips. What are the common traps? The source mentions a few mistakes people often make that can kind of kill a good story.
Yeah, pitfalls to avoid. One big one is giving too many details too early.
Oh yeah, like starting with every single tiny thing that happened that morning before you even get to the main point of the story.
Right. Getting lost in the weeds, basically. The listener gets bored or maybe confused because they don't know what's actually important yet.
So the advice is?
Focus on the main sequence first setting, characters, conflict, climax, resolution. Then sprinkle in the details strategically, especially around the important bits like the climax or how you felt.
Makes sense. Keep it lean initially. What else?
Another huge one we've kind of touched on is flat, emotionless telling. Just reciting the facts like you're reading a shopping list.
Right. If you don't sound like you felt anything, why should the listener care?
Exactly. Remember those phrases for describing feelings. Let your personality, your emotion actually come through. Don't be afraid to sound excited or worried or whatever it was.
Be human.
Be human. And the most fundamental mistake, according to the source, is simply having no structure at all.
Just rambling.
Yeah, jumping around in time, suddenly introducing a new character, halfway through the climax, having no clear ending. It just confuses people.
So that 5-part framework setting, characters, conflict, climax, resolution, it's like your safety net.
It really is. It gives a clear path for you and for your listener, keeps everything on track.
Okay, so knowing all this theory is great, but the source makes one last, really crucial point. The value of practice.
Yes. Can't skip this. This isn't just something you read about and then magically do. It's a skill you build.
Like playing an instrument or sport.
Exactly. The source really pushes for regular practice.
Even practicing alone.
Yeah. Talking to yourself in the car, in the shower, while you're walking the dog. It might feel a bit weird at first.
Maybe a little.
But it's incredibly effective. Why? Because it helps you connect emotionally with your own experiences while using English.
Ah, okay. So you're training your brain to think directly in English when you recount things.
Precisely. It builds that fluency muscle naturally, improves your spontaneity.
And it probably helps you find your own voice too, right?
Yeah.
Your own style of telling things. Build confidence.
Totally. The source even gives some simple prompts to get you started practicing. Like, tell a time you got lost, or share a funny thing that happened to you recently. Simple stuff,
So you just pick one of those, think about the 5-part structure.
Yep. Setting, characters, conflict.
Grab a few of those useful phrases we talked about.
Maybe try adding some feeling words.
And just tell the story.
Yeah.
Out loud.
Just tell it. And hey, if you can, record yourself on your phone.
Ooh, brave.
Yeah, but listen back, not to judge yourself harshly, but just to notice things like, oh, what phrases did I actually use? Did I build any tension there? How did I link the parts?
Okay, I see. And then maybe try telling the same story again.
Exactly. Maybe focus on adding more sensory detail this time, or putting in a line of dialogue. That repetition, that tweaking, that's how these techniques stop being theoretical and just become how you naturally talk.
Right, it becomes automatic.
Mm-hmm.
So wrapping this all up then, what's the big takeaway from this deep dive into the art of English storytelling?
I think it's that becoming a really compelling storyteller in English isn't some kind of magic gift only some people have. It's totally a skill. It's built on understanding a pretty simple structure, having a good toolkit of useful phrases, remembering to add those humanizing details and emotions, and then just practicing. Doing it.
And it transforms speaking English from just like transmitting data.
Yeah, data transfer.
Into genuinely connecting with people, sharing your world, making your own experiences feel real for someone else.
It's not just language practice in a vacuum. It's about getting better at how you share yourself with others.
So maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Consider this. When you focus on getting better at telling stories in English, you're doing more than just learning grammar rules or memorizing vocabulary lists.
You're learning something deeper.
Yeah, you're learning how to weave the moments of your life into narratives that can actually bridge cultures, build real friendships, and just make every conversation feel a bit more vibrant. You're turning language learning into a really profound tool for human connection.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are really digging into something that seems small, maybe, but it's actually huge for English learners.
Yeah, definitely.
English small talk. We've got a great stack of sources from you, our listeners, on this exact topic. And our mission today, it's to unpack all that material.
That's right. We want to pull out the best bits, the practical advice hiding in there.
Find out what it is, why it even matters, and, how to actually do it without feeling awkward.
We'll be looking at specific phrases, useful strategies, and just generally ways to feel a bit more comfortable with it all.
Exactly. Getting straight to the actionable stuff. How to start, how to keep it going, overcoming that, what do I say now, feeling.
Making the wisdom from the sources really usable.
Okay, let's get into it. So first things first.
Yeah.
What is small talk based on the material you shared?
Well, the sources consistently describe it as, casual conversation, informal.
Right, like the chat you have with people you don't know that well yet.
Exactly. Acquaintances, colleagues, maybe, someone you just met. It's that initial interaction, or sometimes that's the whole interaction.
And the topics are key here, aren't they? The sources mentioned they're usually light.
Yeah, deliberately light. Things everyone can relate to, like the weather. That's the classic one.
Can't go wrong with the weather.
Or maybe work or school, if that's relevant. Daily life stuff, hobbies, maybe some very light news, weekend plans.
Nothing too heavy or personal.
Definitely not. The sources emphasize it's not the place for deep philosophical debates or, pouring your heart out.
So what's the point then, according to the material? Why do we do it?
The purpose. It's actually pretty functional. It's about breaking the ice, basically.
Making that first connection.
Yeah, building a little bridge, showing you're friendly, approachable. And honestly, sometimes it's just about filling potentially awkward silences, making things feel smoother.
That makes sense. It's not about having something profound to say.
Not at all. What's really interesting is the message that you don't need witty remarks or long stories. It's more about just being relaxed, responsive, showing a bit of curiosity.
So it's the act of engaging that matters most.
Precisely. Less about the content, more about the connection itself. Just being willing to chat on that basic level.
Like warming up before the main event, sometimes. Okay, so the sources get really practical here, right? They dive into common topics and actual phrases you can use.
Absolutely. And having a few of those phrases ready makes a world of difference, takes the pressure off.
So where do we start? The weather, I assume.
The absolute classic. It's universal. Phrases like, nice weather today, isn't it? Or maybe, bit gray out, huh?
Or complaining about the rain. It's been raining all week.
Exactly. And the responses are simple, too. Agreeing, yeah, finally some sun. Or commiserating, tell me about it. Just noticing the shared reality.
Okay, what else? Work or school seems common.
Very common. Simple questions work best. How's work going? Or if you don't know them well, so what do you do?
Or, still in school, if they look younger.
Right. And the answers don't need to be a full CV. The sources suggest things like, oh, it's been pretty busy, or that classic same old, same old.
Huh, yeah, heard that one a few times.
Or you can give your job title and immediately ask back, I'm a teacher. What about you? Keeps the conversation moving.
Good tip. Okay, weekends, always a safe bet.
Definitely. On a Friday, got any plans for the weekend? Or Monday, how was your weekend? Pretty standard stuff.
And the answer can be vague or specific.
Totally up to you. Just relaxing is fine. Or you could say, went hiking, actually. It was great. Giving a little detail gives them something to potentially ask about.
Right, opens the door. What about hobbies? Free time?
Another good area. The sources suggest questions like, what do you like to do in your free time? Or maybe more specific, into any sports? Or read anything good lately?
And you can share something small back.
Yeah. I play guitar sometimes, or just started watching that new show everyone's talking about. Again, it offers a potential hook for them.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the last one mentioned was travel and local stuff.
Yeah, asking about trips, been anywhere interesting lately, or asking for local tips, know any good coffee spots around here.
Or even, where are you from originally? If it feels appropriate.
Right. And you can offer your own experiences too. I just got back from Italy, or, oh, you should try the bakery down the street, or state your origin and ask back, I'm from Brazil originally, you. These are all just easy ways in.
Okay, so we've got one of the topics and phrases.
Yeah.
But the how is crucial, isn't it? Making it feel natural, keeping it going, the strategy.
This is where it gets really useful, yeah. The sources lay out some golden rules, really practical techniques.
And the first one sounds simple but powerful. Give more than just yes or no.
Huge difference. Think about it. Someone asks, do you like music? You say yes. End of conversation, pretty much.
Bit end.
But the sources show, if you add a little bit, yeah, I love music. Been listening to a lot of indie stuff recently. How about you?
Okay. You give them something to respond to, and you pass the conversational ball back.
Exactly. Transforms it immediately.
Cool. Strategy 2 was echo questions. Sounds interesting.
It's a really neat, simple trick. Shows you're listening and prompts them to say more.
How does that work?
So the example was, someone says, I went camping last weekend. Instead of just, oh, nice, you ask, oh, wow, where did you go camping?
You repeat part of their statement, camping, in your question.
Precisely. It feels natural, shows you're engaged, and asks for a specific detail. Very effective.
I like that. Okay, number 3, mirror their energy. What's that about?
It's about matching the vibe, basically. Not copying them exactly, but tuning into their general tone.
So if they're super casual and joking, you can loosen up too.
Yeah, and if they're a bit more reserved or it's a more formal setting, you adjust to be, respectful but still warm and friendly. Helps build rapport.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Reading the room. Number 4 is using softeners.
Yes. These are great for making questions feel less abrupt, less like an interrogation.
Like little polite phrases you add on.
Exactly. The sources listed things like, just curious, or mind if I ask, or I was wondering.
So instead of, what do you do? Maybe, just curious, what kind of work do you do?
Perfect. It just softens the edge, makes it sound more conversational, less demanding.
Right. And the last one, number 5, ties it together. Be curious, but don't interview them.
Crucial point. Nobody likes being bombarded with question after question. It feels unbalanced.
So how do you avoid that?
The advice is to make it a two-way street. Share something about yourself first, then ask a related question.
Okay, give me the example.
The source used photography. Instead of just asking, do you have hobbies?
Mm-hmm.
You would say something like, I'm really getting into photography lately, just exploring it. What about you? Any hobbies keeping you busy?
I see. You offer something, then invite them in. Feels much more collaborative.
Exactly. Not like you're just grilling them for information. These 5 strategies are like the toolkit for smoother small talk.
And the sources even provided a little dialogue, right? Like a practice run.
Yeah, a coffee shop scenario. It's a good way to see these techniques in action, how the conversation flows, maybe some light humor, short sentences.
Keeping it relaxed.
Right, and the material suggests just reading through or even acting out dialogues like that is really valuable practice, gets you used to the rhythm.
Builds that muscle memory for conversation. Okay, and there was also a list of useful vocabulary, wasn't there? Common expressions.
Yeah, those little phrases native speakers use all the time, like, how's it going? Mr. Casual, how are you?
And replies like, can't complain.
Meaning things are okay, yeah. Or same old, nothing new happening.
Always need what about you to pass it back.
Essential. And I'm into something for saying you like a hobby or topic, sounds good, is super versatile means okay, or that's a nice idea.
What about ending the chat?
Catch you later is a really common, relaxed goodbye. And for answering what's up or what are you doing, you might hear just chilling, meaning relaxing.
Or just not much, you.
Eh,
That comes up a lot.
definitely. Using these just makes your English sound more natural, more fluent in a casual setting.
Okay, so we have the what, the why, the how, the phrases, but actually getting better. Practice is key, obviously. The sources had ideas for that too.
Yes, and some really accessible ones you can do on your own, which is great.
Like what?
Mirror practice. Literally talking to yourself in the mirror. Sounds odd, maybe,
A little bit.
but it helps. You pretend you're meeting someone, try out some openers, answer common questions. You see and hear yourself.
Okay, I can see that. What else?
Writing. Using journal prompts to write out little imaginary dialogues. A chat at a bus stop, meeting someone new at work, using the phrases and strategies you learned.
Sort of scripting it out first.
Yeah, helps internalize it. Then there's recording yourself. Ask yourself a simple question out loud, like, how was your weekend? And just answer.
Ooh. Listening back? That could be revealing.
It really helps you catch hesitation points or maybe awkward phrasing. And then the big one.
The real world chat.
Yeah, starting super small. Tiny interactions. Like at the checkout, just a quick comment to the cashier. Busy day, huh? Or waiting for coffee. Nice weather, finally.
Low stakes.
Exactly. The sources really stress this idea of tiny reps. Confidence isn't built in one go. It's those small, consistent efforts, little by little.
You don't have to aim for a perfect long conversation right away.
Not at all. Just start.
Which brings us back to why this matters.
Right.
Why this small talk is actually kind of big.
It really is. It's easy to dismiss, but the sources make a strong case. It's how connections begin. Networking, making friends, just feeling part of things.
It opens doors.
It really does. Doors that stay closed if you stay silent. And for language learners specifically, it's huge for building fluency and, importantly, cultural confidence.
Fluency isn't just grammar rules.
Far from it. It's about actually using the language to connect, to navigate social situations comfortably.
There was a great quote in the material about that.
Oh, yeah, I loved this one. Fluency isn't about knowing every word. It's about feeling confident with the words you already know.
That really hits home, doesn't it? It shifts the focus from impossible perfection.
To achievable confidence. Using what you have, practicing it in these low-pressure ways, that is the path forward.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive, using all your great source material, has really given us a solid map for small talk. We've defined it, seen why it matters.
Broken down the topics, the phrases, those really useful strategies.
And there's the vocabulary, the practice ideas.
And hopefully shown that it's a skill you can absolutely learn. It's built on simple things, consistent practice.
Leading to more comfort, more connection. Thank you so much for bringing these sources to us. Really practical, really encouraging stuff.
Absolutely our pleasure. It's always great to dig into material that offers such clear, actionable advice.
So as you, our listener, finish up with us today, here's something to maybe mull over, drawing from the core message we found in the sources.
Yeah, think about this.
How might mastering just one new small talk phrase this week, or trying just one tiny practice exercise, how might that change your very next casual chat in English?
What's that one small step you could take?
Something to consider. Thanks again for going deep with us today on English Small Talk here in the Deep Dive.